Saw what?
What's going on, fellas?
Yeah. Is there any big games on tonight?
No, it's a pretty quiet schedule.
Yeah.
Actually,
Yeah.
Tampa plays tonight, though. If I'm not
Yes, they
mistaken.
did.
Or if
They
they
did,
did,
yeah.
they already did. And there's 4 Canadians on that.
Yeah, they beat the Habs 5-3.
Oh, there we go.
And I have Braden Point and Brandon Hagel in my fantasy pool. So, yeah, I'm first. This is what everyone wants to hear about, right? I'm first in my fantasy league. I am 12-5, about to be 13-5. So, yeah.
Not to
pretty
brag.
good.
Not to brag.
I haven't been in one of those in years. I used to live for it though.
I've been at work one there for like the last 2 years. And the only thing, I really enjoy it. The only thing is like, I understand why people like football ones, because there's only like the 2 days that you have to do it. Like hockey, it's like every day, you know.
Yeah,
and if you forget one day, you leave Draisaitl on the bench, and then he scores 3 goals.
Well, do you remember back in the day, because you could have so many players you benched, you had to be on it, but you couldn't even pre-schedule. So like whoever I had playing tonight, if they weren't playing tomorrow, and I had to move my forwards and defensemen around or whatever, and start the other goalie if you missed one day. Yeah.
It was a lot of work.
Yeah, it was more than you care to admit. Yeah, I'd like it to be more straightforward, but
like there's a guy in the pool that like he doesn't care a lot. He just hits start. He just sets his lineups at the start of the week for the rest of the week, and if someone gets injured, he doesn't really worry about it. So you can do that, but then I'm like, well, then like why?
Oh man, I used to get right wicked obsessive, and like I'm offering trades, and I'm trying. Oh yeah, that's been a while, but
anyways, so that's fun. So there's not this week. This is the last day for hockey games. We're going into 4 nations. We've talked about that a lot. I'm still excited about it. I know like Finland has like basically lost half their team, it feels like.
Oh my gosh, eh?
I saw today that apparently Rantanen is going to play anyway. He sat out the last Carolina game with an upper body injury, but he's apparently playing. I think Ristolainen is out, I think. And they had a whole Heiskanen's not playing anymore.
Well, I was just going to say Heiskanen's not playing. Knee, right? Hurt his knee.
Yep. So
and then so Hakanpää was named to the roster, but he's still out and he's not ready.
Yeah, he's officially been named out or called out.
Yeah. So that's, man, I don't know. I actually feel bad for Finland because I don't know if anyone was giving them a fair shake compared to the other teams anyway. And now they've been hit with all these injuries. So like I do actually feel really bad for Finland, but
yeah. So
they're just the team that always finds a way anyway. So
they do.
Well, like
they do.
They'll be the underdogs, and then But Canada Sweden is on Wednesday. I think that's the first game. So that's Wednesday night. So
is it they do that one and then they're off for a week?
Oh, is it? I
think with the Crosby injury, they were saying maybe he'll stay on the team. He'll skip that first game, and then he has a whole other week to get healthy again.
Right.
Yeah, I know really? He is in Montreal.
Yeah, I'm reading here now that he traveled. So
yeah, he's there. I'm assuming he'll go.
Yeah, but they were saying why scratch him because he could just skip the first game and then he gets a whole another week off to recover anyway.
Yeah, it's true if that's the case, right? So
yeah, and why not, right? But he I know, was it last night? By the time people hear this 2 nights ago or whatever, but he was questionable anyway. Like he thought he could go, and then it was like a last minute decision, right? Like 5:00 decided he wasn't going to go. So he's obviously right on the brink anyway of being
Correct me,
back in the
Jay.
lineup.
Well, it's not a week, but they play Wednesday and then they play the U.S. on Saturday.
Yeah,
So
but there's a few days there.
it's-
So he's got Monday, Tuesday off, Wednesday night, Thursday, Friday off, Saturday night.
Yeah.
And he was questionable the last Saturday night. So like when he's on the brink of cracking the lineup anyway, he might be good to go. I saw an interesting stat with him with Team Canada today that I guess I didn't realize. Every game he's ever played for Team Canada when he's been captain, they've won. He's 21-0. That's wild. I did not know that stat.
Captain Canada.
Like he's lost with Team Canada, but he wasn't captain when he lost. Every game he's ever been captain. 21-0.
Wow. That's cool.
Well, maybe he wants to keep that intact then, and that's why he's questionable.
It's like hockey's Undertaker streak here. You know what I mean? Like it's very, who's going to end the streak? Yeah.
I see Drew Doughty got named too, eh?
I just
glad you said that. Yep. And good for him. Like what a solid choice.
Yeah, man. He's been the only thing since he came back from that broken ankle too. He's playing, I think, every game. Even the first one was like 23 minutes. So
and I haven't really watched any of those games. I don't know how he looks, but like, he went right back to top pairing, eating all the minutes, and so that's neat though. Drew Doughty's always one of those guys that like you don't like playing against him, but you know
everybody likes him, eh? You know what I mean?
Team.
Like he's hard to not like, I guess.
Well, he's always got good quotes and
his commercials are funny, you know. Who do you think Team Canada, as long as we're on that topic, who's going to, I think I already know the answer to this, but I'm curious what you three are going to say, and then I'll back off. But is there a clear number one goalie for Team Canada, or who do you think is going to end up kind of edging out the other two?
It's going to be Hill or Binnington, right? I don't think Montreal really has a chance at getting a start
at the number one.
Yeah,
but does Hill edge out Binnington, or is it?
I think so. I think they're going to go with Hill first, and then like if they have unless he's really like, unless it's a really dominant performance that you get, like if he gets like a shutout and makes 20 some saves or whatever, I think they got to keep him just because like a loss basically pretty much can mean that you're done. So like you don't want to take any chances. But I would assume him first and then Binnington and then
putting Binnington in against the US.
Yeah. Yeah.
That's yeah.
But I just there's so much stuff with Binnington, but like I don't know how to, like he threw the water bottle at Kadri in 2022.
Oh man, I forgot about
that. Yeah, Kadri's doing the interview post game, and then he kind of looks
Bieber thing.
He looks off to the side, and then they're like, "Oh, what's going on?" He's like, "I think someone just threw a water bottle at me."
I forgot all about that.
Yeah.
Yeah, I remember that now.
Yeah. Anyways, but yeah.
So I was going to ask you too about what you expect from Team Sweden, because I guess I've been saying all along, I think they're going to be more fun to watch than people think, because I think their forwards are going to be fast. But when I got looking at the roster, defensively, they're quite stacked, eh?
They got a team.
Like, do you think they'll be like more defensive minded than offensive minded? Like you're talking like Hedman, Forsling, Ekholm, Carl. You know what I mean? Carlson. Like it's
sneaky good on the defensive side.
Yeah,
and really underrated is Jonas Brodin. I see him all the time because he plays for the Wild. He's probably one of the best backwards skating defensemen in the league, and he's actually probably he probably has the best track record against defending McDavid. There's a whole compilation of how he deals with him. That's pretty fun to watch. But yeah, I mean, Rasmus Anderson, okay. Deline, Ekholm, obviously Hedman.
Mm-hmm.
The one guy that's not super defensive is Carlson. But still, yeah, that's a pretty. Oh, and Gustav Forsling, just won a Stanley Cup. So yeah, that's a pretty sneaky good defensive core for sure. And then in goalie, like,
I was just going to ask you about goal.
Yeah, well, it's Allmark, I think, will be the guy. But he's kind of he's having a bit of a, well, at least he was. I can't say I've looked recently, but he wasn't doing so great with Ottawa.
He's been up and down, and he's been going through some injury issues too. So that's
yeah.
I think he's coming out of injury right now, isn't he?
Yes,
yeah,
yes, he is. And I guess in my mind, I mean, their ideal would have been Markstrom, right? But he's out. Correct me if I'm wrong. MCL, is that what
I think it's a knee.
Yeah,
MCL, ACL.
But man, the couple times I've watched Wild games this year, Gustafsson looks great. Like I would give him he looks pretty stinking good. Like I think I'd give him a go.
He started off the year really, really strong. I think he's kind of come back down to earth a little bit, but yeah. And but you're right, actually. I'm just looking at the forward core too. Arvidsson, Elander, Jesper Bratt, he's pretty fast.
Leo
I guess
Carlson.
Yeah.
There's speed there. Like they're fast. Like they're going to be interesting because if they're that good defensively, but they're so fast up front, it's going to be a very interesting. I don't know. Big defensive lockdown and then lots of breakaways. Like I don't know how it's going to.
The thing I keep coming back to is like I just think whoever has the best goalie is going to win.
Well, that's the thing, and I love that about hockey, though, is that you can. We talked about this last episode. You can get goalied.
Yeah,
you know what I mean. Like it's
in this format, it can be the end of you for sure.
Team Canada has won that way with Price. Do you know what I mean? That I was like, oh man, good thing for him because we're getting shell shocked, and we won.
Man, they almost won a Stanley Cup because of that.
Yes, because he's just. The whole way, like that was all him.
Thanks
that
for
was all him.
Knife a little more there, Jay. Just a little. Like you just jabbed it, twisted it a little bit there. Thanks, buddy.
That's
no problem.
The main thing is they still didn't win it. You know what I mean?
Is the main
thing. Yeah.
So
I'm even okay with them winning it as long as they don't do it before the Leafs do again. That's all.
You got a stacked blue line like that, though. You could forget the goalie almost and go full 90s Devils. Just
trap
right down.
Just trap.
The Four Nations, this whole thing built right up huge, and then it just becomes a pure trap game.
Well, that's the thing. 2-1. Like on paper,
Nylander gets a breakaway, game's done.
Yeah. Because on paper, it's not like I don't think they have the best team, but they might have the best defensive core of all four of them. And so I'm actually very interested to see, like the U.S. has some firepower and some gritty. Like they went a gritty route with the Kachucks, and you know what I mean.
I can't wait to see those guys play together.
I mean, me neither. And Canada to me seems very well rounded. I feel like you know what I mean. Like their defensive core is good. Their forwards are great. Their goalies are good. Like they're well rounded. Sweden just on the back end just seems stacked. Like that defensive core is going to be very interesting and we're going to see how hard they're all going to play too, right? And then poor Finland, I just feel like they've had bad luck here. Like it's, not their fault, but yeah.
There's some guys on the Finland defense now that I don't even know if I know who they are.
Well, I know, right? And when they named Hakanpää, I remember when they named him, I'm like, well, that's wishful thinking because like we signed him in the summer and I haven't seen him yet. He dressed once. Yeah.
He's the latest Robida Island guy, isn't he?
Yeah. Basically, we'll have to change the name. You know what I mean? Instead of Gulf of Mexico, Gulf of America, it's now Hack'n'Paw Island. There you go. Change the name.
Oh dear.
Gulf of Hack'n'Paw. Yeah.
There's a whole list of them, isn't there? There's a bunch of them that went
on Robidas Island.
Yeah.
Oh yeah, man,
isn't
it's
there?
packed.
I'm saying.
That's actually a Loople jersey up there behind me.
Oh man,
those were the OGs.
Yeah, that's.
They just transitioned to this other dimension that doesn't exist anymore.
That was a good old Lou for you. He could do that stuff.
Yeah.
Man, oh man.
Man, it's crazy to me that he's still like how old is he? 91?
I don't think he's that old. Late 70s, I think.
I need to know.
Yeah.
Someone looking that up? I need to know.
Well, Lou Lamoriello.
Feel like he was in his
82.
Right on.
He's 82 years old.
Well,
I think they just had this conversation on Spit and Chicklets too about like when would Lou retire, and a couple of them were commenting on like they go to an Islanders game and it's a beautiful building. They said it's in the middle of nowhere, but it's just a beautiful arena. And then they said it's the most boring hockey you are ever going to see. And then they started talking about when is Lou going to retire, and I think one of them said it might have been Whitney saying, "Why would he? They keep paying him. Like he's not going to retire till they stop paying him."
Yeah.
Kind of like he's Lou, you know what I mean? Like he's
the Gary Bettman approach.
Would he be the oldest GM in the entire league?
Oh yeah. Oh, I would say
he must be, right?
Who would be older than him?
Well,
I can't think of anybody.
Microsoft Bing, let's tell us.
He must be.
Yeah. Lou.
Yeah, I wondered.
It is Lou.
Kyle Dubas is a close second, but
yeah.
Oh man.
I just hope he's so old school. It's so funny too how like I love how the whole like you don't find out who they signed until training camp. The whole summer. It goes the whole summer. They what was it? Kyle Palmieri was the latest one. All of a sudden, he's at the Islanders training camp, and he's
and they hadn't told
July
anybody.
1st.
Yeah, they just hadn't told anybody.
No one knew. Like so old school.
He's you took the words out of my mouth right before you said that like he's just so old school with the
Still enforces the shaving thing and like.
And I mean that's when they used to play that shutdown, that neutral zone trap hockey the Devils did all the time. It was the most boring games you could ever watch in your entire life. Broder would only face 20 shots a game, if that, and half them were from center. Yeah. But they won. So
yeah.
You know what I mean? Like it's but man, they were boring games to watch. But they won. It worked. Like statistically it worked. Like so
Him and Jacques Lemaire would team up and like there was no forechecking on those teams.
Yeah.
But anyway, I was wondering here. I'm looking at a trade board because we got the deadline coming up. We're going to be talking about that after the Four Nations break. Although I feel like the Four Nations break was already a bit of a deadline.
You getting me all riled up, Jeremy? Trade deadline day? Oh my god!
Right? I still take it off. I take the day off. Man.
I am not going to go on the record to say that. We will just say through pure happenstance that in 16 years in my career, have I only ever worked one trade deadline day? There was one year that Jeremy was at my place at 6 a.m. and we had 2 coffee perks in the basement. And he showed up. Both of us in pajama pants, and on came TSN. Away we go.
Forget the muggies. Had a pot each.
Yeah.
Oh, yeah.
That was when you were living at, what was the road?
In Nordine there. On
Nordine,
Road.
yeah.
I will get our trade deadline day video. I'll get the Gino Retta mug out and everything. It'll be a whole ordeal. I'll wear a bathrobe. I'll get the Gino Reda mug. Phil, you know I have that, eh?
Yes.
I offered Jay Onright a trade. I offered Jay Onright a trade for like a bonsai tree and something else for Bobrovsky because it was so slow. And the next thing you knew, I was like, anyway, I got my Gino Reda autographed TSN mug.
Oh, man.
I
Actually,
got my bathrobe. Phil, you know I got that, eh?
Joke's on you guys. I don't have a bathrobe. I like to air dry. Like to walk around the locker room like Sean Avery waiting for an interview. Just out there. Woo.
I hear you though, man. I enjoy it. I mean, they're not even, the deadline days aren't even as big as like what they used to be.
Well, because they're trading earlier, eh? Like they're jumping on it earlier rather than waiting because you got more competition on the day.
Yeah.
So like we talked about that before, like the Rantanen trade happened. And then the second that happened, it set all these other wheels in motion for JT Miller to move, right? Because doors get closed and then you got to sign. But there's still some players on that trade board there that's like stuff's coming. So we'll see.
Oh, yeah. Well, even Colorado, man, they traded both their goalies before Christmas.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, pretty unheard of.
Completely overhauled goaltending in like November.
Wow. GM's like, oh, my bad.
Sorry, James Duthie.
Yeah. Oh, man, I get it. I get such a kick out of James Duthie for this stuff. But anyways. Yeah. So this is TSN. So I don't know who put this together. I hope it's not Craig Button. I don't like Craig Button.
Could be worse, man. Could be Pierre Maguire.
Brian Hayes on TSN has a personal mission to pop a quarter in Craig and wind him up. He says that all the time. He needs to.
Like, I appreciate that he used to be a GM, but like, I could not disagree more with everything he says.
Okay, me too. I
just don't understand where he's coming from with anything.
And on paper, like I've never been a GM. I've never worked in the NHL. And I feel the same about Pierre Maguire. Like sometimes I hear like his hot takes or whatever, and I'm like, no, like not at all. What are you talking about? You know what I mean? And like I feel like an idiot because like who am I to question someone who should be in the know and worked there? But I'm with you on the Craig Button thing. Like I never agree with what.
It just seems very old school.
I'll tell you who I'm almost there with, and Phil will know it. But we've had this conversation. I feel like when Kipper says anything, I'm 50-50 on whether or not I agree with him or not.
Oh, yeah?
Like sometimes I feel like he just wants to play the heel and push like Leafs fans' buttons. So he just says what he, you know what I mean? Like that'll get them on Twitter again. Like I wonder if he just does it.
I think
I wonder if he does it on purpose. Yeah.
Yeah, I think he's a bit of a shock value.
Yeah, I think so.
Kind of guy. Because like he has a trade board out with Brad Marchand on it. And I don't think anyone else has that. Now, I'm not saying he's wrong, but I'm just like, I mean, you don't put him on a trade board unless you want people to go, do you see who's on? Like, he thinks that Marchand, you know what I mean? Like,
yeah.
Anyways.
That said, I would not be shocked to see Marchand moved.
It'd be fun.
Chatter about it.
I would be surprised. And you know, one of those deals in your life where it's like, I'm shocked, but I'm not shocked. Like it's, you know what I mean?
It's all about McKinnon having the Nova Scotia reunion in Colorado.
Yeah.
I know, right? They're going to get Marchand. They're going to get Crosby.
Bissonnette's all over that Crosby's going to go.
I love it so much.
Yeah.
He keeps sharing that edited picture of Crosby in an Avs uniform.
He shares it over and over. And he'll fight anybody that disagrees, so you can't.
Yeah. I love it. But,
who's on these trade boards, Jeff?
What's he got? I was just checking to see you. Yeah. Oh yeah. So he's a UFA this year, Marchand.
Yep.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, that's right. Okay. Well, let's give Kipper his due here because he does have him as like a top. He's up this year. He is 37. He's always older than I think he is.
Yep.
I don't know if it's just because he's one of these guys that kind of came to prominence like later. He sort of found his, like his identity with Bergeron and Pasternak when they had that line going. But like, I could definitely see him leaving just because I know he's Boston's captain, but like whenever Chara lost the C, it's like it was the end of that era. It went to Bergeron. They were still good. And then when he retired, it was like, okay, now it's really done. Like, I feel like, Boston's going to be in that. We talk about the murky middle where like they're going to, the original 6 teams, they don't try to go full rebuild on those guys. They want them to retool and keep going. But like, he's really like the last of that old school core. And it does actually make sense to me that he could, he could be a trade piece because I just don't think he has the longevity there as a captain, even though he's been there as a Bruin for forever and won a cup with them. But he's a guy I could see being moved. I just don't know what his contract would be.
And I don't know moved for what. Is it moved to try to get decent pieces in return, or is it moved in the sense that, we got to blow at least half this up, so we get a somewhat start over next year? Like, you know what I mean? Like, how sometimes you can blow it up without blowing the whole thing up? Like, we got to blow up half it because something's not working here. Yeah.
Well, and they'll I think they won't know right up until the deadline where they're gonna.
They're 1 point out of the playoffs.
Exactly. So they're in that. Well, and this breaks into a whole other conversation of bubble teams and teams that are, are they buyers or sellers?
Because if you go for it and you want to go for it and you make it, good for you. And you wanted to stock up for a run if you can. But if you go for it and you don't make it, now you're a middle roader and you're drafting in the middle of the road and you're stuck with some UFAs that are going to be up in July, and you could have got something for them. Because if you miss by 1 point, well, then I might as well have tanked and got something in exchange and stocked up for next year, got a couple extra picks and got something for my UFAs, right?
Right. Like, if you're out in the first round in 6 games,
you might as well have blown it up and tried to get some stuff for the fall, right?
Yeah. So
that's a weird spot to be in. And they're not usually in that spot. They're not used to this. Boston's
they're used to facing you guys.
But I feel like it's been a 15-year
might do that
streak
if they make
of
the playoffs.
Yeah, but it has it not been like a 15, 16-year streak of like top 4? Like, they're not just making it. They're always, you know what I mean?
Yeah.
They're in the top 4 seeds every year. Like, it's always a shoe-in, and all of a sudden this year it's not.
Yeah. Because I'm looking at the Metropolitan and the Atlantic. So right now in the Atlantic, Tampa's right behind you guys with 66 points in third. And in the Metropolitan, it's New Jersey with 68 points in third. And then the wild card teams are the Senators and the Red Wings with 62 points, 61. Boston with 60. So it does kind of feel like, they'd have to go on some kind of heater, and some of the other teams would have to go
Boston
on a bit of
has played more games, but
they have. They've played 57. So it does feel like they're destined for a wild card spot, which is interesting because they'll end up, playing, as it looks right now, either the Capitals or, well, the Atlantic's still up in the air, but potentially the Panthers. If the Leafs finish first in the Atlantic.
Exactly.
It's very tossed
It seems
up in
inevitable.
That is what's going to happen, isn't it?
We could get a battle in Ontario, though, too, in the Atlantic. If Toronto finishes first and Ottawa squeezes in. That'd be fun, too.
Right. That's the Leafs' moves. They trade for Marchand and play Boston in the first round.
Marner for Marchand, straight up.
Oh gosh, Gary, don't even joke.
Well, here's the thing, right? So Marchand deal, he was one of those guys that, like, early in McKinnon's career, he signed a long-term deal before he took off. So he had become like a 100-point player while he was still making $6 million per year. And Marchand, I don't have it right in front of me, but I know he's 6 point something, right? So like, as a rental going to another team, I mean, that's That's pretty good value for the cap hit.
And if you're a stacked team, like on the front end, what a great third line. Like, and let's be real, he's a pest. So, like, he is one of those guys you despise playing against them, and the reason why you hate him so much is because he's so good at his job.
Yeah, he's on the Corey Perry arc, right?
Mm-hmm.
Used to be like a top scorer, and then now that part of his game isn't going to leave. He's still going to drive people crazy. But the more I look at it, the more it's like, oof, that's a pretty tempting, trade.
Well, especially
piece.
just for this run, right? Just for this run.
Yeah.
Just to see if you can, that's...
But what's Colorado got left to give?
Man, they could almost fit him right now. I mean, now if Landeskog doesn't come back, I think right now they have $5 million in cap space.
Who are they going to give up though?
Well, if they don't have to do a hockey trade just to fit the cap, I mean, I'm all about emptying the draft picks. I don't care. Get rid of all the first round picks. You have a core right now, like McKinnon's getting into his late 20s. You got McCarr in his prime. Like whoever you draft isn't going to be as good as them. So you got to bank on these guys. Empty
so
the
I
cupboards.
hear you on that. I said to Amanda the other day, so there's in Toronto, and I don't want to get on the Toronto thing, but there's rumors that Fraser Minton might be traded because he was a healthy scratch of the night for the Marlies. And she'll go, oh, that's too bad. I said, listen, it really is, but the poor kid is good. I think he is ready, and he's never going to crack the Leafs lineup.
Yeah.
He's not going to because of who they have right now.
Yeah.
He will for salary cap reasons eventually.
He will for salary cap reasons eventually, but I just look at a team like the Leafs, like Jay's, they've drafted very well over the last couple. We'll see how Cowan turns out. His streak finally ended the other night at like 65 games straight point streak in the minors. And Minton and Abrazizi and all these different, and the Leafs have done this before. Like Phil, I think Eric Shalgren looked awesome.
Yeah.
But he wasn't going to crack the lineup, so we have to trade him for something because he's going to lose his best years to waiting to actually crack that lineup because they're pretty good right now. So I'm with Jay on the whole, like, the draft picks can go for the next 2 or 3 years. It's the same with us. Like, it's get what you can for them because you don't need to draft well right now. You need to draft well maybe in 5 years, but not right now.
Yeah, I just get rid of them. I mean, there's so many people who are like, well, they got to keep in mind rebuilding the future. I don't care. You've got like, you got like these core guys, talented guys. It's hard to get that. Lots of teams would kill for that. Just support them. Go for it.
The only problem, like a team like the Leafs have, where they're up against the cap, is they could trade Minton or Cowan, get a pretty good return. Like you could probably fetch like a Ryan O'Reilly or whatever for your third line center, which is what the Leafs need, right? But the problem is, if you get a player of that's $6 million or $8 million or whatever it is, how do you fit it into the cap?
You're over again.
You're over.
Well, and like
you got to send someone the other way as well, right? And sometimes that's what kills deals is because the other team could be against the cap too, right?
So. That is a deal killer for them, is that they're so close to the cap. You're right.
Well, you look, I mean, and that Rantanen trade just kind of backs up what you're saying. It's two contenders trading with each other, but they have to do a hockey deal to make the money work. Not just because they're both contending, they're both trying to like make the best of the situation and try to make their teams as good as they can. But money, it has to be money in, money out. So, it's hard with prospects and picks if you're, like you say, a cap team. The
Leafs cap structure, they badly need people on ELCs that are actually contributing.
That's how that works, with them.
Yeah.
And thank goodness they got Bobby McMahon because they're paying him next to nothing, and he's actually
oh my land,
man, what a success story that is! Like 36 goals in 60 games or 70 games in his career so far. Like it's
undrafted, didn't make the NHL till he was 26 or something.
Yeah.
Because he's older than you think, and he looks like he belongs there.
Because did he come from college or where did he?
East Coast League.
Junior A.
Yes.
Junior A.
Junior A, actually, yeah.
Okay.
Like, good for him.
They call him Bobby Matthews, I guess, in practice because they say...
Bobby McMatthews,
Yeah, exactly, because he has a very similar shot, like release off his... when he fires the puck.
Yeah. But he also, when Matthews was out hurt, not this year, but last year, he scored like 6 goals in 4 games with Matthews out or something. They started jokingly calling him McMatthews.
Well, his first game was a hat trick, was it not?
I think so.
He was supposed to be a scratch, and then Matthews was a late scratch. So then they put McMahon back in, and I think he went out and scored a hat trick that night.
Yeah, you're right. He was supposed to be a healthy scratch again, and then when they put him back in, he got. Yeah, you're right. No, yeah.
Yeah, you need the ELC thing. The thing that I think directly contributed to the Avs getting a cup was they were now you can't do this at the deadline. It's more of an off-season thing, but like they identified reclamation projects and hit on them every time. Like Valeri Nichushkin, who's been injured a lot. I mean, I feel like the guy is like a top 15 scorer if he stays. You know, when they signed him, he hadn't scored a goal in like 2 years. No goals. So they signed him for league minimum, and he eventually goes on to be a huge part of their top 6 and like was instrumental in them going. Andre Burakovsky was another one, was supposed to be a big pick in Washington. He was on their cup winning team in 2018, but like struggled to perform in the playoffs, and they kind of gave up on him, gave him up for nothing. And then he for a couple of years was a 20 goal scorer, came close to getting 30, scored some big, had always produced in the playoffs. And he was playing on like the third line. You know, he was alternating with Arturi Lehkonen, you know, who was another guy that was a smart get from Montreal. But anyways, to your point, they found underperforming guys that they thought, we think if this guy plays in our system, he's going to do well. And they were really good at identifying that. So it's either that you go for the reclaim and hope they find their game in your system, or yeah, like you say, like ELCs, you know, but beyond like high first round draft picks, you just don't know who that's going to be. Like you don't know which draft picks beyond that are going to, you know, it's hard.
That's why there's only one Tom Brady.
He just triggered a lot of people, I think. I don't know much about football, but he seems to make people upset.
Yeah. Trigger them some more. Tom Brady roots for the Leafs.
Oh, dear. All right. Well, I'm going to go down through the list here. Just a couple of names. Jump in if you're interested in any of these. I've seen Brock Nelson, New York Islanders, kind of up there on a lot of them. He is 33, UFA, $6 million. Ricard Raquel from Pittsburgh. Carson Soucy, Vancouver. Vancouver trading guys that's another weird. That's a weird.
It is a weird one. Yeah.
Like, because now it looks like Demko's back.
Yes.
Although I think he left the game the other night.
Yeah,
again
last night in the first period.
Backish.
Oh dear.
It didn't look like it was one of those. Sometimes these ones are worse. I don't know what it is. A goalie goes down. It was a big hit. And then you find out, like, nope, they're fine. They're playing next game. They're all right. They were just rattled. But it's like when Stolarz tore something in his knee. You could see the moment he did it. He kind of walked it off. He played the rest of the game. You find out the next day, 2 months. He's out. Has to have surgery. And Demko left in a very similar way. Like, he looked awkward. He kept on playing. He made another save. TV timeout. He says something to talk it. Next thing you know, it's like, he's gone up the tunnel. He's gone. Like, you know what I mean? Kind of like, and he wasn't limping. He wasn't. It just sometimes.
But like, given his history,
scarier.
it's like, well, that could be it for the year.
Yeah.
It's too bad because he came back. He actually Colorado started their Canadian road trip against Vancouver, and he shut them out 3-0. Like stood on his head.
No, he is when he's.
Oh man,
when he's healthy, he's fun to watch.
Yeah,
like he's good.
He's elite.
Yeah. So,
what country is he from?
He's American, isn't he? Isn't he American?
I thought he was American.
Yeah, I think he is.
Yeah.
What's his passport situation?
What's his?
Yes,
Does he have
he's
dual
an American ice
citizenship,
hockey
or-
goaltender.
I thought he was
Yeah.
American. Yeah.
No, we don't have anyone, man. Nobody.
Lineup could be Joey Decord, Thatcher Demko.
A lot of the trade bait boards, I see David Savard.
Yes.
Yeah.
I see Trent Frederick.
I just about called him Denny Savard.
Right?
Denny Savard's on the trade block. Do you hear that? Trent Frederick, that's an interesting one. I think he's going to go, well, again, depending on what Boston's doing. Now, you guys have seen a lot of him. I like him. He seems like a good playoff type player. 2.3 million.
He's a player with some jam.
He's solid. Yeah.
And the interesting thing is he's 26, so he's not RFA, he's UFA. Like, that's a young UFA, so there's going to be, I think, a lot of interest there.
I'm surprised he's not ranked higher than higher on the board, being a center and being that young.
Yeah, and I mean he's not like a regular points contributor, but like I think he kind of can be that guy that scores the timely goal when you need it, and creates a lot of momentum shifts and stuff. Like he's a guy I'd be pretty interested in.
There's a couple centers on the board.
Yeah.
Oh, Toronto. We need a third line center.
I see because I got a couple of different boards going. I got TSNs open right now, but I was just on another board. I think it might have been Kippers, but Braden Shen, his name is being thrown around quite a bit.
Yeah.
Yeah, St. Louis is in a weird spot.
They are in a weird spot. See, I'm being a Leafs. I don't get to see St. Louis as often. I only see them a couple times a year, but.
Well, they are still in this weird fallout period with that core that won in 2019. They're mostly all gone, but like I just don't know. Like they did the offer sheet thing with the Oilers, and they got 2 young guys from the Oilers, but they're not really franchise guys. So it's like I think Jordan Kyrou is supposed to be the guy, and Robert Thomas, but those guys are kind of getting older now, and like. Not really, grabbing the bull by the horns. So yeah, they're kind of in a weird spot. John Gibson is talked about every year, every single year.
And it's
he's
funny
never
you say
been
that.
traded yet.
I just saw that he's on there again.
So, and the thing, I don't. It's a weird one. Like Anaheim
goalies in general are a weird one at the deadline.
Yeah, it's true.
And
he's at 6.4 million. He's been at that, and he still has 2 years left. That's kind of a lot. Like that was a big contract for when he first signed it for a goalie. But now looking at thing is those like the Shesterkin contract kind of resets the market, right? All of a sudden 6.4. He has a 2.69 goals against average and a 915 save percentage, which is pretty good for 6.4 million. So, but I don't know. I think he's going to go every year, and then he just doesn't. So I'm not sure.
I just can't believe how different all these different trade bait boards are.
Oh yeah, I mean,
they're all guessing,
it's
right?
Always
Yeah. I've seen Casey Middlestad's name more than once now.
I've seen that a bunch too. I don't know how I feel about it, honestly. What happened with him in a nutshell is when he first came over, he was shot out of a cannon. He was on fire, but he has since completely changed his game. So he was very underrated he'd have 2 guys on him on the wall, and somehow the puck would come out right on the tape of somebody that no one else saw, and they'd either score or it'd be a really good scoring chance. When he came over last season, he did that all season, did it in the playoffs, produced in the playoffs. And then something happened over the summer where he just decided, I'm not going to be that like Mark Stone type of right place, right time kind of guy. I'm gonna start carrying the puck into the zone at full speed. And he just like, he's skating all the time. He's constantly skating and looking around and making plays to nothing. And he's really struggled. And I wish he just would have left his game alone. I don't know why he's like just trying to be Nathan McKinnon now, just like full speed skating around. It's like, dude, that's not what you're good at. That's not.
I wonder what happens to some players mentally when they have such a shift. Like I had this conversation the other day with, I don't want to go on a Leafs rant here, and I'm watching the clock and I want to talk about Dylan Cousins maybe here in a sec, but like, so Morgan Rielly's game with the Leafs finally looks normal again to how it used to. And when I say how it used to, I'm talking about before Sheldon Keefe. And my theory is, and I said this to someone the other day, and I hadn't heard it anywhere. It was me talking out my butt. And then I think Kevin Bieksa last night brought it up and said almost what I said. I was like, okay, so I'm not crazy. They've had a pretty crappy defensive core in Toronto for years. And he's been there since 2013, and he was a very offensive defenseman. And then for the last 3 or 4 years, I don't think he would pitch in, and he completely changed his game because I don't think he ever trusted any defensive partner he had to get back. Do you know what I mean? Like, I don't know if, like, Phil and Gary's watched a lot of Leaf hockey. Like, all of a sudden he became their shutdown guy. But you were having a dozen goals a year, and now you're a shutdown guy.
Well, he had 20 one year, didn't he?
Yeah, he did.
There was 1 year where he hit 20. And now so this year, just so you know, he has 2.
He had a good regular season last year, I think it was, or it was the year before. But that was like the first one in a while.
Yeah, and it wasn't like the super offensive. He was still... But I guess so Berube had a sit down with him. Berube was very honest with it, but it's almost like what Jay said. Berube told the media, he's like, no, I just told Morgan that he doesn't have to be scared to take a chance. Take your chances. And whatever's happened since then, and they were commenting on it last night, he looks like a completely different guy. He's jumping up. He's taking shots. He'll take one to the net, and then he'll get back. And sure enough, last night he scored again.
Well, it's interesting. It's interesting you say that, because, and I feel like I've seen that a little bit, but I don't really watch enough Leafs to know. But I always am curious to watch other teams' defense because where in Colorado the green light is any defenseman. If you
if the puck is nearby,
go down, make the pinch, do them all, make the pinch, drive, carry it down behind the net if you want. Like, go ahead. But the reason they do that is because the forwards know that's going to happen. And you will see every single time a defenseman carries it down the wall, there's a forward, the third forward high will go up to the point to at least have somebody there.
Yeah, get back to the blue line. Yeah.
He loses the puck or he makes a pass and it's an odd man the other way. At least there's someone there. And they're super responsible with that. But if that's not the way your team's structured and the forwards aren't doing that, and that's like you'll see teams do it all the time. It's tale as old as time. Defenseman makes the pinch, doesn't get there in time, 2-on-1 the other way, 3-on-1 the other way. And I feel like that's what would burn Rielly is that kind of thing.
And when Sheldon Keefe came along, and I don't want this to be a whole Leafs thing, but Gary and Phil will attest to this. They became a dump and chase team. It used to drive, Amanda watches so much hockey with me, drive her bananas. Instead of trying to take it over the blue line at all, dump and chase.
So they became a dump and chase team again?
Well, with Sheldon Keefe.
Wasn't that their thing for years?
Well, it was, but they stopped for a while. They'll attest to, like, the other two here will attest to this for me. But it's cranked to 11, and no defenseman. It's almost like, you know how, like you said with Casey Middlestat, like Morgan Rielly had to become a different player under that system. There was no pinching in anymore. There was no jumping up the boards. There was no taking it to the net. There was no...
He was good at.
All the stuff he was good at, this new system. And now, all of a sudden, the only time they dump now is for a line change. They do not dump and chase anymore with Berube. If they dump it, it's because they're changing behind them, and then one forward stays on to chase it in to drive them crazy to stall to get your line change done, and then they, you know what I mean? You're watching and now all of a sudden, Jake McCabe is taking it up. OEL's taking it up. Riley's taking it up, and they're getting the odd, like the whole system's changed, right? So I don't know. I just see the before and after. Just when you were talking about Middlestad, that's what it reminds me of. It's almost like watching them play from 2 years ago to now. It's like watching a before and after photo. Like, it's weird.
It is.
Like
and
it's like two different players. Yeah.
Well, he has changed his game so much and his production's dropped off so bad that he's now on trade boards.
Yes.
And I was super excited about this move. I thought it was a great move trading Byram for him. But I have no idea. I would really hope that he would stay and he could figure it out. He's not Kadri. I mean, we kind of talked about that last time. But like, say what you want about Kadri. There's all the jokes, but like, the dude was the best 2C I've ever seen. He was unbelievable as a 2C that year they won. So, anyways, Middlestad is not. He's not Kadri. Not a lot of people are, but I guess to bring it kind of back a bit too, like Trent Frederick is actually a guy I could see sort of filling in that role. But
me too. Yeah, I could see that. And there's just enough pest in him. Like, he's not a pest. He's not in the category, but he's going to be. There's some grit. There's sandpaper to Frederick. So I'd be. There's a few teams he'd fit in real nicely as a 2 or 3C for sure.
Yeah, and at that cap hit, it's pretty.
It's pretty reasonable. And then I'm trying to watch the clock here because we probably got to wrap up soon. But I've seen Dylan Cousins mentioned so many times this week, and then all of a sudden today I heard whatever they're asking for him, I guess it's enormous. So I don't know and I don't know what that is. But I saw a couple of guys tweet out that it's actually quite the ask for Cousins. But he is on the board, so they're obviously they're willing to receive conversations about him, I guess, but I guess the ask is quite high.
I think it's because Buffalo knows that he will be the 5th or 6th player to be underperforming. He will get traded and go win a Stanley Cup as one of the other team's best players because they've done that with everybody.
Mm-hmm.
Everybody. Sam Reinhart, Jack Eichel. Like, they ship these guys out and they go and immediately take off.
Ryan Riley.
And the Eichel.
Allmark.
Yeah, like the...
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, there's a whole slew of them.
The Eichel debacle was so bad, it's almost like it's left a hockey curse behind. Like, it's weird. You know what I mean? Like, all that.
That was weird.
Yes, Jay. Like, multiple times this has happened to them.
Because in 2020, his best season was 22-23, 68 points. 23-24 dropped to 47, and he's at 27 this year. So yeah, I mean,
$7.1 million cap hit.
Yes,
he's expensive.
But you put an asterisk on those stats because he's in Buffalo.
Yeah.
You know what I mean?
Yeah.
But talking about,
yes, it is a cap hit. It is a cap hit. Yes, it is.
And like
how
talking
many years
about,
are left?
Huh?
How many years are left?
5.
Oh.
Yeah.
Ooh.
But here's the thing though. Then this is what I'm saying with like, that's a guy you give up some assets for because he's probably going to play. I think he has the potential to outplay that contract, especially with the cap going up the way it is.
I agree with you on that. He could outplay. Like, he could be a $10 million player for 7.
Yeah. Like that year,
right
he got 68 points. He scored 30 goals.
Yeah.
You know?
Mm-hmm.
And I just think that's like 68 points, 30 goals. Like that's probably close to what
5 years down the road, that might be an okay contract. But
yes,
because the cap's going up, right? But like based on his numbers,
can you imagine?
Oh yeah,
Phil, you're right, but it could just be 3 years down the road.
Yeah, exactly. That's
an amazing deal.
Yeah, especially if he's getting
for what he could be producing.
If he's putting in, 50, 60 points a year, that's awesome. Then, but
if you could get 60 points for $7 million with the cap going up, you'd be laughing.
Yeah.
Like what a great contract that would be for somebody.
That's suddenly the new $4 million contract, right? So
no, you're not wrong there.
Exactly. Like I look at, and the only reason I look at this is because it would drive me insane. But like I look at a team like Tampa Bay, looking at him and giving up a lot for to be their 2C. Now a 2C on that team with Braden Point ahead of him, Kucherov, Hagel now, like I could see him going there and doing super good.
Mm-hmm.
You know?
Yeah.
Like, and for that contract, that cap hit, the no tax thing, you know, like that's something I could see those guys giving up a lot of prospects to get. And then he's their new 2C.
Yep.
Do we see a lot of inside division trades nowadays?
Not a lot, but more than I would have thought this year, eh?
Yeah, I mean, I'm trying to think. Like, I feel like what's happened is I've seen them, and then I say, "Wow, that's weird. They did an intra-division trade," but then I say that 3 or 4 times a year.
You know what I mean?
So I'm like, is it weird if I say it all the time?
But I guess the norm used to be like, if we're trading one of our top 6, they're going out of conference.
Well, to give you an idea, that Rantanen trade, like I think it was possible that he was at one point going to end up in Chicago. That's the same division.
And he still might,
And he could very well. I mean, they might go hard at him.
Yeah.
To put him with Bedard and give Bedard a guy like that to,
That's what Bedard
to kind of look up to and play off of, yeah. Yeah, I could see that.
Yeah. I don't know. Cousins is the kind of guy that my gut was telling me, like, he's a guy that, a team like Tampa Bay goes after and says, that's going to be a good contract for us. And he's going to be our, they're going to go for a 1-2 punch of Braden Point and Dylan Cousins. And, anyways, I don't know what their cap situation is. I haven't really looked, but it's just something I saw them kind of doing.
I could see that.
But
all right, fellas.
Yeah, I heard there's a game on tonight.
Go Eagles.
Oh,
I'm personally excited for Kendrick Lamar.
I was just going to say. I heard there's a Kendrick Lamar concert tonight and there's a game getting in the way of it or something. All right, fellas.
Yeah.
All right.
Well, yeah, good work.
Good work. Keep your stick on the ice. All that jazz.
See you next time.
See you next time, guys.